Okay, starting with a session of Voices by the Seashore, we have with us three non-Pakistani poets from the subcontinent. Sudeep Sen, who was on stage just now and who will come back. And we have Mamang Dai over here from the far northeast of India, from Arunachal Pradesh. And we have Mr. Ibrahim Wahid Ogaru from the Maldives, who will also be with us this evening. So I'm starting the session. We have a large number of people. They all have a number of poems to recite, and I will cut each poet off as if the time runs out, because we are tight on time, and a number of poets whom we want to hear. First of all, I'll ask Farida Faizullah. Farida is known to many of us here. Can somebody help her up? Thank you. Farida is known to many of us here. She is an educationist. She teaches at the Aga Khan. She is, from my perspective, we used to have a small group called, not small, quite large, Mixed Voices. We used to meet periodically and recite poetry like each other in different languages, including English. Farida was very much part of that group, amongst others who are also present, because the former head of that group, Adrian Hussain, is also graced us with his presence. But for right now, I'll ask Farida to recite her poems. Please, Farida.
Thank you. Am I facing? Sorry. Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Yeah?
Mike.
No, where's the mic? That's the mic.
Mike. Somebody sing to it, Farida.
आप जरा बोले ना बोले हेलो नो जी हाथी ले लो लेकिन मैं ब्रेन से रीड करूँगी oh hello the problem is there a table mic, because I have to read it in braille, so
Okay. No, she needs a table mic.
yeah, easier. Is it, if it's convenient? ये करना है वो पकड़ लें तो मुझे दो हाथ चाहिए ना यूज़ करने हेलो May I? Right, thank you. Sorry for this, thank you for your patience. And the first two poems I'm going to read are called soulmate poems. So the first poem is, the truck behind honks and honks. The cart in front refuses to budge. You pick, leave, pick, and insert the cassette. Buses on both sides race, overtake, flout the light. Idiot in Corolla indicates left, turns right. The constable snaps for your papers. You hand him the attested set. Oh, summer wine, you hum with the tune. Oh, for cherries and strawberries in this heat. Oh, summer wine, oh, dust and sweat. Another piece of political farce on the street. No chance of progress or retreat. You press, relinquish, press, and replay the duet. No wonder you drive, having to drive on roads so contrary to your ways, so totally without regret. Thank you. May I? Shall I continue? Yeah. The second again soulmate poem. This friendship is not China garlic. Sorry, this friendship is not China garlic, trimmed, clean, packaged hygiene. This friendship laughs out loud, rude, crude, knowing the roads we are destined to ply, if ever carpeted, will be carpet bombed. This friendship was made in heaven, for only in heaven are friendships made in claustrophobic climates, as of inmates. Ohan Kamal wrote of Nazim Hikmat, how can I forget you? And listed the small acts of survival they had shared. Ours, like theirs, is so much confinement of values. Sure then, every time you walk in, smiling your dimpled smile, and I rise reflexively to greet you, we affirm our togetherness, that is, separateness from many others of the wider world of other pursuits. Thank you. And the last poem probably? Okay, the third. The next poem is called The City You Have Left. Are not signs, this is by the way because it's poets by the seashore. So, are not signs relative to time of perception? I once saw these waves as symbols of hope, how they ebb together, force and strike again. But now I only see the soon to evaporate spray in the breeze, refracting the beam of a poet's dream. I once saw the sea as symbol of generosity, all the treasures it yields. But now I only see the salt seeping into the soil that nourished friendships and faith. The city you have left is bereft, not just of the one I would veritably name its flower, but of a mode of cultivation. The city you have left is filling with 1,000 noises, the void that is the absence of your voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Farida.
Thank you.
He writes in English and Urdu and also in Punjabi. So he is with us right now in the English poetry reading, and he will shortly afterwards, I think, go to the Urdu Mushaira, which is being held in the main garden.
That's what you call two times.
Haris, your.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This poem is called Insha. The title is Insha. It's a name of a girl. My father once said in verse, मैं लाले गुलसितान कश्मीर हूँ दागे हयात से फरोज़ा. I am a tulip from the garden of Kashmir, a red tulip shimmering with a dark stain hidden in my heart, the stain of life. My daughter is almost the same age as Insha's. Insha, a fresh tulip in the garden of Kashmir, is also shimmering with a dark stain hidden in her heart, the stain of death. Tears roll down her cheeks, pink cheeks pockmarked by grey pellet wounds. Insha may never be able to see again, but she will always be able to dream. And the second poem, the next poem is called Muslims. That's the title of the poem. It is in the weakness of the willow that fortunes live. The wheats and the defeats, a strong backhand, forehand, flexible wrists, brawny legs, elbows and knees, all are trounced if the willow is weak. It is in the weakness of the willow that sun rises from the other end. Cheerleaders are thin, downcast and subdued. It is in the weakness of the willow that a fate is sealed, all is lost, the game, the gallery, the desire, the dream. It is in the weakness of the willow that peoples live, bereft of knowledge, drive, and belief. In my window, I could see a lone red kite in the skies of Kathmandu, piercing through the mountainous wind, a boy from a hard-bound family, whistling away the tensions of youth. Having tea in the garden, with 8 givers and interpreters, third world experts propounding free market, pimping poverty. A church group of overfed American kids painting their faces with a brush of innocence and biblical ease. She came in a green suit, set herself against the window, and everything disappeared in a thick black hair. Thank you very much. 5 minutes ho gaye na? Thank you very much. Thank you.
I don't see Mr. Ibrahim Wahid anywhere. He's not here? Okay, we'll wait for him. I'll ask one. Sorry, he's here? It's behind the pillar. Okay, let me introduce Mr. Ibrahim Wahid Ogaru. He's from the Maldives. Mr. Ibrahim Wahid also has a lot of things to his credit. He's been a civil servant. He's been in politics. He's a writer, short story writer, novelist, and poet. You need the stuff. You need the stuff to read. Begin with his poem, The Pacifier. Oh, you don't want to begin with that? Whichever you like. Whichever ones you like. We've got 5-6 minutes.
Thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. Can you guys at the back hear me? Great, that's wonderful. Okay, just a little bit of sharing from the Maldives. First of all, best of greetings from the Maldives. So let me do it my way. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And you see, this is a message especially for the young people out there. Stop me when my 5 minutes are up, sir. A message for the young people. I'm going to read to you something which was originally a rock song, which some people told me was poetry. And I wrote this thing when I was 17 years old in a place called Beirut, right in the middle of a civil war. So think of this little boy, 17 years old, who needed a rock song to be performed on stage. So originally this was performed as a rock song. Keep that age in mind, 17. But I just wonder if this thing still works. This song is called The Pacifier. You know, that which you put in your baby's mouth. When your third world brother is crying for peace, love thy neighbor is all you preach. And when he opens his mouth for the milk of kindness, you give him a pacifier. Yes, you give him a pacifier. You give him a pacifier. When he opens his mouth for the milk of kindness, you give him a pacifier. Man doesn't live on bread alone. Yet when he needs that bread, he's all alone. For your dog is the Lord of what I can't afford. And yet you give me a pacifier? And then, of course, the refrain, you give me a pacifier, and so on. There was a bridge. It was ivory for beads, gems for a mirror, pearls for subversion. See the Indian reservations? And now it's oil in return for your cursed gun. We fight for peace, if there ever will be peace. For you give us a pacifier. Yes, you give us a pacifier. When we open our mouths for the milk of kindness, you give us a pacifier. Well, that 17-year-old boy thanks you. Here's from a much later date. This is from around 2012. This is a series of irreverent questions, if you will forgive me for them. I will ask you some of these questions. Does love really matter as a power or a desire? Couched in couplets or in shairi? Lauded and applauded? Or does it last a little longer without rhyme or even reason when flowing in your spirit as the light, forever serene? Does justice really work in the hands of some judges, like scalpels with surgeons, or knives in the hands of children? Or would it serve us better another time, another place, when consciousness judges itself and screams or rests in peace? Does mercy really matter as a gift or a blessing to be withheld or be granted at the whim of a leader? Could its meaning be much sweeter when it rains from the sky, unclouded by doubt, bountiful, never ending? Does faith really matter as a banner or a label, penned in Latin or in Arabic, written in Pali or in Sanskrit? Or is it so much better without sound, without form, when cradled in your soul, silenced of names, thus forever strong? God bless you. God bless you. One more. Okay, I have a choice between something called Scent of Cedars or Old Man Ali Thakur. I'm going to go for the Scent of Cedars. This one is dedicated to a country called Lebanon, where I spent 6 years of my life. Winding roads took me there. Pine and cypress everywhere. Mountain hamlet, waterfall, birds in song, one and all. Saw you there, you were laughing, talked to you, you kept me smiling. We danced away a perfect evening and saw the sunrise in the morning. Side by the orange trees, sharing whispers, common dreams, misty air and bubbling streams, scent of cedars in the breeze. And I said in your ears, hey, I love you. We were young, we didn't care, there was nothing we didn't dare. Walked the roads, saw the lights, rode the highways, burned the lights. But life is strange, it has its way. What it gives, takes away. We didn't know, we didn't have much time. See, we were never meant to share a lifetime. Side by the orange trees, sharing whispers, common dreams, misty air, bubbling streams, scent of cedars in the breeze. And I heard you say in my ears, hey, I love you. I suppose it's still all there. Pine and cypress everywhere, mountain hamlet, a waterfall. I hide my tears as they fall. I hear that song. You used to love about that girl who pined in love on a drowning sidewalk in the cold of winter. For my eyes, there's no more summer, no side by the orange trees, no sharing whispers or common dreams, no misty air or bubbling streams, no scent of cedars in the breeze, but I still say, hey, I'll come to you one day. I love you. Ladies and gentlemen, that one, when I said, I'll come to you one day, I'll tell you something. Whoever this poem is dedicated to is no more. That's what happens in a civil war. That one is autobiographical. That's a confession. God bless you for that. Thank you so much. But I'll tell you something. For as long as we have life, let's enjoy each other's company. Wherever we have to go after that, it's up to him. So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Walaikum salam. I need the papers.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll now ask Mamang Dai. Mamang Dai is from Arunachal Pradesh in India, the far northeast of India, for those who don't know. She is a novelist, journalist, and poet, and has won various awards. And she is presently her state's member of a state's public service commission, so she's a government servant at the moment. Mamang, lovely to have you here.
Thank you,
We
Salman.
need to adjust this.
Is it okay? Thank you, Salman. Good evening. I'll go straight to what I had said. Wait. This is called The Voice of the Mountain. From where I sit on the high platform, I can see the ferry lights crisscrossing the big river. I know the towns, the estuary mouth, there beyond the last bank where the color drains from heaven, I can outline the chapters of the world. The other day, a young man arrived from the village. Because he could not speak, he brought a gift of fish from the land of rivers. It seems such acts are repeated. We live in territories forever ancient and new, and as we speak in changing languages, I also leave my spear leaning by the tree and try to make a sign. I am an old man sipping the breeze that is forever young. In my life, I have lived many lives. My voice is sea waves and mountain peaks. In the transfer of symbols, I am the chance syllable that orders the world with history and miracles. I am the desert and the rain, the wild bird that sits in the west, the past that recreates itself and particles of life that clutch and cling for thousands of years. I know these things as rocks know, burning in the sun's embrace about clouds and sudden rain, as I know a cloud is a cloud is a cloud. A cloud is this uncertain pulse that sits over my heart. In the end, the universe yields nothing except a dream of permanence. Peace is a falsity. A moment of rest comes after long combat. From the east, the warrior returns with the blood of peonies. I am the child who died at the edge of the world, the distance between end and hope, the star diagram that fell from the sky, the summer that makes men weep. I am the woman lost in translation who survives with happiness to carry on. I am the breath that opens the mouth of the canyon, the sunlight on the tips of trees, there where the narrow gorge hastens the wind. I am the place where memory escapes the myth of time. I am the sleep in the mind of the mountain. I'll read my next poem. The sorrow of women. They are talking about hunger. They are saying there is an unquenchable fire burning in our hearts. My love, what shall I do? I am thinking how I may lose you to war and big issues more important than me. Life is so hard like this. Nobody knows why. It is like fire. It is like rainwater, sand, glass. What will I do, my love, if my reflection disappears? They are talking about a place where rice flows on the streets, about a place where there is gold in the leaves of trees. They are talking about displacement when the opium poppy was growing, dizzy in the sun, happy in a state of believing. And they are talking about escape, about liberty, men and guns. Ah, the urgency for survival. But what will they do, not knowing the sorrow of women? I read the last poem. Salman Saab, we had a deal. The river. Do not stay too long by the river. The river is a wayward god. It is an elephant, a lion. Sometimes they call it horse. One summer we thought it was a peacock, turning in the yellow dust that filled our eyes with gold. I saw a woman floating in a lily pond, in a mountain of mist, wrapped in a cloud, streaming with tendrils and pollen dust. I thought, the river is a woman, a country, a name, a note of music trapped in the white current, a sheet of paper carrying a secret map. The skyline is where it begins, between the darkness and the summit, in the birthplace of thirst. Do not stay too long by the river. It is a drowning spirit, a strong-armed god, drawing and withdrawing such seasons, flowing river, standing still, river sea, river ocean, river of all our summers, collecting the salt of our lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mamang.
Thank
Thank you. I now ask Moin Faruqi, who I see has come. Moin is an artist, artist with paint as well as with words. As an artist, he has exhibited internationally in Canada, Italy, Singapore, Bangladesh, and India, and the UK, of course. And his poems have been published in various places, various literary journals in Pakistan and overseas, in the US, in Ireland, in England, and in Canada, and of course in Pakistan. And he's been in 2 or 3 anthologies. As you will see, he paints with brushes and he paints with words. Moin.
Thank you, Salman. Yes, sometimes I do write poems about painting, the process. And for those who know, I usually paint faces, figures, expressionistic. But at times I do try and abstract work without any narrative. So this one is about that. It's called Abstraction of Paint. Call it 5 by 5 in honor of the feet that made this canvas, in honor of the pigments and the powders in our souls, the broken symmetries, the distorted logic, the formlessness of forms. These will move, these will speak once deformed to newness. The narrative will become circular, a rectangle twisted to a dream, without people, without stories. Through this I will speak to you secretly, through the muteness of colors and the smiling glyphs and lines. Honor the movement of brush, thoughtless, empty of purpose. Only in doing find answers. This is a different kind of poem. It's called Cold Night. These memories roam like my mother through the rooms of this house. Carrying incense, she walks through its passages. Unraveling in autumn wind, her stories fall like leaves. letters she never mailed buried in a blue trunk. We placed her faces together for a sepia collage of smiling lips and ancient conversations. Once upon a time, a story was never told. Unborn, it circulates between our ears, fluttering in on mornings, inserts in newspapers. Her loves, her long-ended dreams, and the long lost in her family who murmur from crevices in white lime walls. Beneath the grass in the garden, we buried the pot she brought with her. It carried all her journeys, the sense of migration, of her own dolls and dishes of childhood, of her own stars, resplendent in a personal sky, cold and unfeeling on a winter night. And just a short last one. It's called April Meeting. The terror of a sublime face, so beautiful it creates and recreates, and a body golden in golden light, bare and unnatural in its contortions. Embrace me by the light from the lamp and drink it in ourselves. Listen, secrets whisper in the room, whirling like swimming souls. Burning with the tongue's unusual language. Come, we are devoid of sleep tonight. We have conquered night and made it white as our own lids. Close and open the lips as if drowning. Bronze legs, bronze breasts, arms clasping the one who lives and moves and gives life. Thank you. Thanks, Salma.
Thank you, Wayne. Sadaf is here. Yes. Sadaf Halai has recently come back to Pakistan. She's been in Canada for some years. She's educated in Vermont and Boston University, and she's been writing in America mostly. She's been published in publications like Plowshares and Vallum in Canada, and her short stories have appeared in Lima Train, where she was shortlisted for the best new short story writer by Glimmer Train magazine. Sadaf considers herself primarily a short story writer, but as a poet, second to none. Sadaf, please.
This is called Shah Jahan. The old emperor is safe now. Flights of fancy will no longer trouble him. He is done with the days of tantrums and visions of peacocks with diamonds for eyes. Once he was God's shadow, but now the cell has freed him from that awesome responsibility. Now he is the gray shape. It shuffles from wall to wall. Here's the cot with its sturdy legs. It's no artifact of history, but it's the last place he'll sleep. And there's the window with the remarkable view. In the haze, some days he thinks he dreams it. It must be a Moti disturbance, he thinks, lodged forever like a doctor's lost needle, a phantom on an X-ray, blue mirage, the flicker of a gaunt minaret, Tagore's solitary tear on the cheek of time. Call it what you will, but it is real, as is the bed, the shadow of Khurram's hand resting on his knee. The view of the Taj Mahal from the Agra fort. This is the last laugh. It is the joke that never gets old. God's impeccable sense of humor. Let us contemplate this view, these white domes of marble, and the unseen crypt inside the mausoleum. We must commit both the mausoleum and ourselves to memory with the photograph and its willful vindication. I was here. I am not nothing. And so the old man thought as he gazed upon the wonderful view. I like to think of the asymmetry inside the octagon, the two marble boxes head to head and foot to foot. I like to think that asymmetry endures, that Khurram thought to himself, I am not nothing, as he looked at the world outside his window. This poem is called Prologue, in 3 parts. 1. This mark on the right hand's ring finger from that schoolyard fight 20 years ago, when the broken Coke bottle left puddles of pink in the wake of our water war. I guess we were still children to have found such mirth in so little and not have noticed till someone said, "Hey, is that blood?" 2. Pockmark on the forehead, 8 years old racing to some pointless destination. Mother on the telephone, wire taut across the room how it sent you flying, graceless, flightless bird. As luck would have it, the accident was made sweeter by the green bangles on your wrist that left their glitter everywhere. 3. The new is always keenest, alive in its reason. The anecdotal takes time to fade into myth. They pulled you out into brightness. When we tell your story, the first act will always be the humming room with high ceilings, the hospital on Erin Mills Parkway, the thick window and its dull reflection, a gray tree with no leaves and the mall behind it, the clouds of black exhaust, the cars inching a slow concourse around the hospital. All this happens without fanfare or pity. Like a ticker tape of news too dark to be believable, it is also ordinary, like the pedestrian slouching toward the parking lot. The incision swallows all my histories and the past becomes irrelevant. And you emerge, wet, bawling, and victorious, the precursor to a good fortune I did not see coming. And this poem is, the third one is called, it's called Thucydides, and it's also in 3 parts. 1. Discontent followed me here to this civilized suburb, yards like small benedictions. Oh, the peonies in July, fat-headed, bending with loveliness. This town was grand once, classical, the kind that propels the tiny planes of the exile and the immigrant. I came looking for turrets, amethysts, elephants, but found rooftops like porcupines, roofs studded with arrows, strip malls, the houses semi-detached, cars in the driveway, and through the thick of elms a pool twinkling, giant inflatable swan idling on water. This must be after some calamity. This can't possibly be it. 2. In your third world, you tend to tomatoes, green lemons, terracotta pots you bought from honest men. What came of them, the honest men? You say you're saddled with a bad one, leaves blighted from the beginning, little worm that waits in darkness, its course as sure as pestilence. But why did you stand by wringing your hands? Your myth is like that original story, how blessed you were and then you weren't. Such a tiny plot, your backyard vista, its litanies of disappointment. 3. I'm weary of my morning walk. All night I listen to the spit and crackle of pyres in the street, and behind that sound, a farther sound. The Aegean swells. Morning brings its clatter. Someone is sweeping the street, but why bother if everyone is dying? The street cleaner continues his jaunty work. The broom moves in brisk circles. His hand does not falter in its steady task. Thank you.
We now, I now ask Saba Sarwar. Saba also lives in the US, or comes and goes from the US. She's a novelist, she's a short story writer, and she's an artist. She is at Houston, she's won a number of awards. She is the Mid-American Arts Alliance's Artistic Innovations Award, which she has won. And she has the last 2 years served as an artist in residence at the Mitchell Center for the Arts at the University of Houston. She has won, she's been a recipient of 3 Houston Arts Alliance's Individual Artists Awards and serves as an artistic director and founder for Voices Breaking Boundaries. Seba, yours.
So, I need to know what the order is that I sent it in, I guess. No, it's not mine. No. So I'm going to read a poem that is. I lived in Houston for a very long time. I am now in Pasadena, California. I lived in Houston for more than 20 years, even though I kept coming back here, so I never saw myself as from there. And living there for a long time, I said, let me go find out a little bit more about the city. I only knew artists and activists. And I decided to go to a gun show. And I went armed with two white guys, two very good friends of mine, because gun shows are held all around the city, all around Texas, I think. And this is a poem that was inspired by that visit to the gun show. And since then, I've made it into a video collage that has been screened in Cairo and in Jaipur and in the US, but today, just the poem. Why are you looking at me like that? Let's meet for coffee, he says. We can talk guns, politics. Why are you looking at me like that? Why so hard to understand? I have guns, but love peace. He strokes the cardboard box, long, 4 foot, taped. He tells me, inside a Kalashnikov, Russian, why are you looking at me like that? My Houston, artists, educators, activists, nothing like the Texas they say I live in. And then there's the gun show. Yeah, I say, let's go to the gun show. I walk in, a cultural anthropologist. I learn something about which I know nothing. I know guns in Karachi. Many chowkidars have them. And then he walks out with his Kalashnikov. I have more guns at home. I go to shooting ranges. Yes, I do. Why are you looking at me like that? Why do you think guns and peace don't go together? This a journey, my world turned upside down, twisted, gnarled, beatnik hippies, peace guns strapped to boys I've known since age 16. I am another mother, another voice from the other side of the world. I live this one and accept yet again, I know nothing about America. Thank you. That was written in response to a student who was in my classroom that I met at the gun show. This poem is also in response to a moment that is very alive today. As you know what is happening in the US, there's a person out there, a creature who is, can't name him, can't call him human. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So I was in El Paso, Texas, some years ago, like maybe this was written in 2008, I believe, so 9 years ago, and this issue is as relevant today as it was then, and I will just go ahead and read it. And this was written right after my visit to the wall. Tearing wires, building bridges. Para Carolina, Rich y las estudiantes. Interstate 10, a ribbon stringing along southern borders of the USA, los Estados Unidos de America. A freeway racing parallel to curling, barbed wires and military lights, across which are homes much like the ones on this side, maybe more decrepit, maybe more dusty, but maybe, just maybe, more in touch with the sand, the wind, the cacti, and the lives lost. I have seen the barbed wire along the Rio Grande between El Paso and Juarez, and I have heard of guns, walls, and barbed wire in Ramallah and Jerusalem, and I know of AK-47s and Kalashnikovs and military checkpoints along Kashmir, Balochistan, and Sindh, borders where sisters wait hours to see their sisters, but then are turned away. More than anything, I know children live, eat, sleep, and roosters crow on every side of the silver wire ribbons that cut across the globe, piercing our skin to draw blood, forcing us to forget that one day we will cry together when our mothers pass away. Mera naam Seba hai, munjo nalo Seba ahe, mi nombre es Seba, and I don't need to tell you on any side of Interstate 10, or you anywhere along the sharp wire ribbons that divide Earth. I don't need to tell you what I just said. So tear down the ribbon and wear it like a Roman crown over your head, because you know that every side of the border, you, we, I, us are the same. Thank you. And this last piece is a very short one, and some of my family who is here will recognize the moment that I'm talking about, the space that I'm talking about. It's dedicated to my family. Our water tank. In our aquarium, beneath broad banana leaves, sunlight filters, casting a green glow upon my world. I am a fish swimming on the surface of the stone water tank. Beneath us, water trickles. Behind the glass-edged wall, boys play cricket, sending shouts of, "How's that?" But in our aquarium, we swim our dreams on damp, mossy earth and cold cement. Thank you.
Thank you, Seba. Okay, we have Shirin Haroon. Shirin is the daughter of Maki Qureshi, who was herself a poet, perhaps one of the finest poets in the English language in Pakistan, in my view, certainly, the finest. And in view of some others, one of two finest. But Chiki, or Shirin, is a lawyer by profession. She teaches English and dance. And she writes poetry. And we will hear a few of her poems now.
Actually, quick change in program. I'm just going to read two. Because the second poem I'm going to read is a bit long, so I think we'll run out of time. The first poem I'm going to read is a short one. It's called Tuesday Linen. It had to be a Tuesday. It was always a Tuesday until I baptized it, changing of the sheets. My mother, with her jotting book and pen, sat on a chair, conducting laundry, precise to a pillowcase. The maid, stripping the mattresses bare. And I, the loose thread, played upon that dirty heap of linen, jumped from pile to pile. I must confess, I never saw the point of laying the clean sheets, or that it made any difference at all. Suds in the big tub, soaking away each night's use and heat, the uncomplicated sleep. This is a series of 4 poems called Metamorphoses. They're linked, so I'm going to drop my second poem and just read these because of we have a time constraint. The first one is called Flight. As birds will abandon a nest that's disturbed, leaving their eggs unhatched, taking no further thought of them, surely they would celebrate a homecoming elsewhere, another tree, but not all leaves are green, a thicker foliage where they might sing unseen. Or perhaps for them it is all flight. The whole sky is theirs, who have deftly learned to bear their weight somehow differently. The second poem of the series is called Butterflies. How did the returning summer find you in flames, all brilliant color, the way a child might tint you among our geraniums? Though so oddly gauze-like, the merest breath would tip you off a petal. It was a long winter, but the air has gentled. In the sun, the garden seems vivid, greener. Yet you paused over the scarlet bougainvillea on the wall, interrupted your own dance. In that instant, grown pensive, asked yourself, why am I different now? The third one is called Climber. March's hard-edged shovel lays the root tip, bedded and dampened, but not in this sand soil. It grew out of richer clods, hesitant, then sturdy and vigorous, sprang into leaf. Now this cascade of blossoms has scaled the wall, spread itself out. A breeze ruffles the scarlet heads, murmuring of things they knew. Calm in petals, the sun is not your friend, merely a transition. Crimson to purple, diffusing to white. The secateurs, a second, sharper knife, fall, then floating drift, clear, water almost. And the final one is called Reflections. In the cool of evening, the walk across damp grass to the unswept surface of ponds, where at dawn a bird slaked its thirst beneath the flash of brilliant wings. The blossom floats, blanched out, unrecognized. The pool is a collector. Dry leaves, fretted silhouettes of trees, twigs. It takes them all, merely repeating its own labials. But as the light dims and blurs, their shapes dissipate, till only the water itself is visible, silver, disclosing exactly what it sees. And in the gathering twilight, all it perceives is just sky. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, it's back. Thank you, Shireen. That's lovely. Okay, our guest poet, Sudeep Sen, will read a few more. After which I intend to take advantage of the fact that I'm on the stage and also read. But there was one other little thing before that.
I think I'll just read one poem because I have read properly before, so it's not really fair to read more than that. And Salman should have time because he's being terribly modest. This is a poem, fairly recent poem called Kinsukuroi. Kinsukuroi is this Japanese belief that once a vase is broken, if you repair it with molten gold or silver, the broken or the repaired vase is supposed to be more beautiful in its second life than the original one. It's such a beautiful Zen-like thought that you can't not possibly explore it and so on. So this is just for all of us, where we should celebrate human frailties because we are all actually flawed and we aspire for some sort of perfection, be it God or poetry or whatever it is. Kinsukuroi for my friend Salman. The cracked bowl that I mean to repair every day keeps getting neglected by the secret awe of bone china and the story of unbreaking. There were happier times when it stood perfect in its shape, its porcelain clay fluted nape, elegant as a swan's neck. I found it in a heap of beautiful pottery, one among many that its maker carefully crafted in a rooftop tropical studio. To me, it was new, even after it accidentally slipped from my hands as I tried to wipe the deli dust that clung to us like camel brown film, like innocuous powder, transparent and deceptive like makeup. There are scenes I painted on its milk white skin, words I wrote, lines etched in, fragments of poems left unfinished, hieroglyphic encoded secrets that only I knew and understood, impervious to gossip's glare and jealous chatter. Today, I shall bring out superglue and try to make repairs. Maybe I will splurge on a rare metal, silver or even gold, to seal the cracks and fill them with molten healing. Anointing it with gold, memory, love, and desire is better than the perfection of its prior shape. Unbroken, poised as it was, unhurt love is not necessarily purer than love that is flawed. Kinsukuroi is a prayer that I have been granted. My bowl deserves the lacquer touch of a silver wish and the purest of rare gold. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudeep. Now, bit of a change of program here. Well, one of our finest, I think, senior most poets and a scholar in his own right is Adrian Hussain. Adrian is a PhD in English literature from the UK, and he's a critic, scholar, and a poet. More important, as I had earlier mentioned, the Mixed Voices group that we used to be part of, and Shireen was also part of that, and others. And Adrian was the founder of that group, which is no longer there, unfortunately. Adrian would have been one of our poets today, should have been, but he felt he had nothing new to say at that point. Yesterday, he rang me up and happily said that he had a new poem, and which he's going to present to us now.
Thank you, Salman. I feel quite like the proverbial phoenix rising out of its own ashes. Anyway, I'll do my bit. I actually haven't been writing too much of late because I've written 70 sonnets, and that's going to be part of a book called Italian Window, which is to be launched in Lahore in a few days' time, hopefully. This is a sonnet again. It has to do with my days as a fashion designer, believe it or not. I design clothes for men. I also design cufflinks. This is about some semi-precious stones which I came across the other day and inspired this poem. Here we are. It's called Precious. I found them this morning, dark-eyed or tearful and shy, small fires at rest in a pillbox, these gemstones, agates, opals, and a gunmetal grey pearl hiding at the rim, belongings of an earlier time, half known, forgotten, and vanishing as I looked, blurring a sense of spring becoming winter, though with a fine hesitancy. A hoarded redolence I live with, the dim sights, sounds of a past I preserve, jealous. Much remains, yet is lost in the keeping. There is a reverence we owe to gone faces, ephemeral things, jewels mined from time, minnows of rain, doves' wings, Thank you. Thank you, Salman.
Thank you very much, Akku. So, and as I said, I'm going to take full advantage of the fact that I have this stage and a mic and read at least one of my own. This is a recent one, comparatively recent. It's called The Visit. It's called The Visit. The two gates, one in, one out, now open directly onto the main road. Back then there was a grassy stretch with cassia shrubs that blazed in bursts of fever yellow and dripping baubles of laburnum between margosa and eucalyptus trees. Margosa, in case anybody didn't get it, is neem. Between margosa and eucalyptus trees and an ancient banyan on the corner. Even the furnace breath of summer carried the scent of leaves, and the evening river mists of winter were laced with sharp lines of fragrance. It was a red brick house with a single turret and a porch and deep veranda ablaze with bougainvillea. It no longer stands, knocked down to build a motel. But do you see at this moment, here it is, on this December night, waiting just for us. Step up here through the gloom of the veranda, open the double doors onto the deep carpeting of the living room. Dimly lit as always. But there's a fire glimmering in the gate, and look, stoking it with a steel poker, look, there's my mother. And they're also here. Both the grandmothers, one from each wing of the house, sitting together on the same sofa. And now they're all looking at us, at me, all three. But why are their faces so dark, so indistinct? The features broken into blurred fragments, as if seen through black wire netting. Like the netting on the doors and windows here, which is clogged with grime. Like the murkiness of dirt-encrusted windows looking out into the night. Like the loops and sticky strands of spider webs in the darkness just below the ceiling. And the dim electric bulbs whose light is even now swirling down and away into the entropic darkness of the mind. And will you permit me one more? This is an old one. It's called April. The plain, the plain is bare of trees. There are no retreats, no green shelters, only sand and flaking red rock. Here nature has been niggardly, hard-bitten. Only a few spiky plants struggle up to shrubs. There is bitter water rising to the roots. The source of betrayal is at the roots. These images harden a wheel on the consciousness, but how articulate them? How express them, and by expressing, expunge? The poem does not come naturally of itself, not anymore. It all seems so hard now. Was it simpler before, or was there merely less to say? Here, 200 terse miles stretch to the snarling faces of mountains, old eroded mountains, split and cracked to cutting edges. Loose-rooted shrubs sometimes tumble from shield shoulders. The source of betrayal is the soil where the seed fell. The task revolves around these images and their enunciation. But it is hard to know whether you have written the intended poem or something else altogether. Thank you all. I hope you enjoyed that. And as I said, we now have book signing for those who want. It's available at Liberty back there. Sudeep's book, and he's ready to sign. I think outside here, isn't it, Saba? Outside here, the signing, or in this room? And we're going to start with the one. Sudeep, we'll start with the one you're holding in your hand, which is my copy. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.